Hi, hello everyone. This is Steve Namaseevayum. I work at iPass here as the Senior Director for our Global Supplier Relationship Management function. Today I'll be delivering to you an update on our network as it stands today and our plans going forward. There'll be an opportunity for a Q&A at the end, so appreciate if you could hold off until the end, and either you can ask via the conference bridge or via the facility on the GoToWebinar. So first and foremost, I just want to start by talking through some of the terminology, nomenclature that we use when we describe our network. So essentially the way in which we look at the footprint, that we divide it into, we talk about three different types of hotspots. We have commercial hotspots, which are primarily public venues. So think of venues such as airports, hotels, retail venues, coffee shops. This typically is what we constitute as a commercial venue. And then we have community hotspots as well. So primarily, as it states, it's a residential property, somebody's home. And the way in which this works, the equipment within the home, the access point, typically has two SSIDs hanging off the access point, and one of those SSIDs is available for the public roaming for customers such as iPass. Okay, and then finally we have open access hotspots. So what our technology is doing today is effectively curating free or amenity hotspots into the network. Okay. Moving on, we just wanted to show you how the network has grown over the last 4 years. So as it states today, we stand at 61 million in contrast to just over 2.2 million in 2014. So we have seen pretty radical growth over the last 4 years, 2,000% as it states here. And then we also wanted to show you how those hotspots look on a map. So you can see that the two largest regions or continents are Europe, closely followed by the Americas as well. Okay. And then I just wanted to spend some time talking about the different verticals, the different venue types. So you can see on this slide, where we are in terms of airports, 800 plus airports today. In in-flight, it's been a huge business for us. Got some exciting news to share with you later on that one. But we're currently enabled on 3,000 aircraft across the globe, close towards 800 trains. And then, I want to just also talk about hospitality, which is a very, has been for the years that iPass has been around, has been a very strategic location or venue type for iPass. So, we're currently in around 90,000 hospitality venues. Okay. Spend a little bit of time talking about in-flight Wi-Fi in terms of what there is today. So I mentioned we're already equipped on 3,000 aircraft. You can see here, some of the airlines that we're enabled on. Typically, when we're looking at this slide, this is more about long-haul flights. I want to talk about short-haul flights in a moment. And we work with primarily the market leaders in terms of in-flight Wi-Fi technology, as you can see along the bottom. So Gogo is our longest standing relationship. We've been working with those guys for probably about 7 years. We also work with Panasonic, United, and Inmarsat. Okay. And then something that we're finding, really exciting right now. About 3 weeks ago, in Europe, we launched our first European aviation network flights. So primarily, what we're talking about are short-haul flights in Europe. And the first 2 airlines that we launched at the same time in concert with our partner Deutsche Telekom were Lufthansa and Austrian. Okay, so what we expect to see throughout the rest of this year on this, in this part of the business is more aircraft enabled. So coming out at the end of this year, we would expect to see a couple of hundred aircraft enabled on these particular airlines. Okay. And in hospitality, here I'm just sharing with you some of the brands. So these are global brands that we have our service enabled in as well. So you can see that it's fairly extensive. Rail as well. So we find that actually this has been a very popular service. So it started probably in the UK close to 10 years ago, working through with Virgin Trains and their technology partner, and then extended, as you can see here, through to other UK services in Japan and also in Denmark. Okay, and we have some other exciting stuff happening in rail that I'll talk about a bit later. And then finally, I'm just sharing with you some of the, when we talk about the 61 million hotspots, iPass, in fact, we don't physically build network infrastructure. We don't go out and build Wi-Fi hotspots per se ourselves. We basically have relationships with a lot of companies, with 160 plus companies, in fact, around the globe, that we have agreements with to roam onto their networks and aggregate. So you can see in this on this slide who some of those key network partners for us are across these 4 continents. Okay, so just changing tracks a little bit, I want to talk about what's coming over the next few slides. So I already mentioned that we basically launched our first European in-flight services a few weeks back. And that basically what we expect to see is that those airlines, Austrian Airlines and Lufthansa, more aircraft enabled. So the other thing that we are, working on here is the expansion into new airlines. So the IAG group, who some of you may be familiar with, are also planning to launch in-flight services on their short-haul aircraft. So the first customer that we expect to see is British Airways later on this year, and then in 2018 we're expecting to see Aer Lingus next. Oh, and one other thing on this one. So whilst I mentioned Lufthansa and Austrian Airways, what we expect also is Eurowings, so effectively the budget arm of Lufthansa, to be launching flights this year as well. Okay, and then finally, the last thing on in-flight. So we announced at the end of 2016 that we signed a deal with United Airlines. So we've been busy basically doing the technical integration work that we have to do to make sure that that service meets our requirements, our technical requirements for security and so on, and privacy. And right now we're nearing the end of that deployment and approaching testing. So what we're forecasting right now is that service will actually be active in Q3. Okay, and just doing focusing a bit on the various regions, talking a bit about EMEA. We are planning to add or make some significant network adds in EMEA, both in terms of numbers and strategic venues. So currently working with with a prospective partner, a couple of partners rather, that would deliver an additional 12 million community hotspots throughout Europe. Rail, we see is also extremely important, working with some of the train operating companies around the globe, in fact. So currently we've got a couple of contracts in progress for the Americas, and plan to launch those services over the summer. And similarly, we're trying to do these things here in Europe as well. Okay, and the in-flight is basically just as is reference to the short haul stuff that I mentioned as well. So moving on to Asia Pacific, we are planning to add another significant provider in the China and Hong Kong market this year as well. So I believe it's what they have is in excess of 50,000 additional hotspots, so that would be a good addition. Also planning, India is a market that we've seen mature and evolve considerably over the last 12 months. It's been a long time coming as far as we're concerned, but we're now, working with a couple of operators. In fact, over the last month, we've added in 2 new operators that are operating the Tata network and the BSNL network. So they're 2 of the largest operators, which I think has yielded about 5,000 hotspots. Now, those partners are at the start of their journey in terms of expanding that network. So we do expect to see some, aggressive network growth. In addition to that, in India, we are also making significant adds for hospitality, working with the Taj Hotel Group, who are the largest. And also, we have a very good hospitality partner in that region of the world that is working with a lot of the major significant brands. And just back to the sort of more of the operator type of Wi-Fi, the public hotspots. Again, we are also working with some of the other operators to sign contracts and bring in footprint this year. Okay. Another area that we spent a lot of time on recently, Southeast Asia. We've been doing a lot of work in Singapore. In fact, this year we've already added in several hundred new hotspots through working with our partners out there. We're currently in conversation with another partner to add several thousand more. Australia, again, it's another market that we've been working on hard over the last couple of years to try and identify good potential network partners. We managed to do that. I'm glad to say we're in the process, final stages of signing a contract with an operator, and then we actually already started the technical integration work. So we're hoping that we can make that footprint available. It's about 1,200 hotspots over the course of the next month. And then just switching our attention to the Americas. So one particular region that we are focused on is in Central and Latin America, and primarily these markets, Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico. In Mexico, in fact, we've been working with Telmex for a very long time, and they've been making a lot of changes to their footprint to improve the performance. But we've also identified some other partners that are currently, we've signed them up, and they're currently in our integration cycle, our technical integration cycle. As I mentioned, it's a similar thing that United Airlines is going through. So we're hoping that basically in the next 1 to 2 months we can bring them on. They operate hotspots in hospitality as well as airports. Okay. And then we also have other operator prospects in Brazil and Argentina that we're talking to right now, and trying to basically get agreements signed with those guys so then they can go into our integration process as well. Okay. And then finally, so switching to another part of the world that we've been very keen to add hotspots on is Canada. And we think that basically, we're finally getting there. Been working with some of the operators in that market. We believe we can have a contract signed this summer, and then get into that integration cycle as well for over the next few months. And finally, just talking about the US market. So, in-flight we've talked about in relation to United. We are also working on another opportunity to add significant in-flight hotspots in that market and around the globe. So there's currently, we're in the middle of our contract negotiation cycle with a significant player. Hospitality has been a big focus, as I mentioned, at iPass for a very long time. We see it as a very strategic vertical for us. So at the moment we're targeting trying to get at least 2 key suppliers signed over the course of the summer, so we can get those integrated for 2017 as well. Okay. And on the commercial side of things, we are looking for new prospects. The good thing about this part of our business is actually a lot of our existing partners have aggressively grown. So if you look at our partnerships with the likes of Comcast and the Xfinity brand of home broadband and hotspots, and also Time Warner, which is now Charter, they've done a very good job of growing their network. So if I look at where we were with Comcast, for example, 3 years ago, they had 40,000 hotspots, and today they are around 15 million. So that's pretty aggressive. Now, we don't expect that growth to continue, as in whatever 30 million in 3 years, because I think that starts to get to the point of saturation of Comcast's home broadband customer base. But we do think they'll be able to continue some aggressive growth in the sort of millions over the next few years as well. Okay, so just to summarize, again, this is the final slide. So 61 million hotspots, 120 plus countries, and 160 plus network partners. Again, I think what we're planning on doing over the course of the next 6 to 12 months is increasing that number significantly, and the number of markets that we can service as well. Okay. So I want to thank you for your time. We can open it up now for Q&A. Also, if you have got any questions or anything that you need to talk about, you can also contact your account manager or email us at sales@ipass.com. Thank you. So should we just give folks a bit of time just to digest and process, and we'll see if anything comes through?
Sure thing. Steve, it looks like we do not have any questions coming in.
Okay. Well, again, I think the folks can contact their account manager at sales@ipass.com, or if you happen to know me, then feel free to reach out. But again, thank you for your time, and have a good day. Sorry, Alex, did something?
Yep, we have one question come in from Kevin Lyman. Do you have a list of convention centers you are in?
We do. So basically, actually, you know, through our location list, we can identify the convention centers that we're in. So, is Kevin from an existing customer or a prospect or a partner?
I don't have that information here.
Okay. Maybe it's best, Kevin, if you can send a note to sales@ipass.com, and we can get you. If we have your contact details, we can come back to you with that information. But we'll get one of our team to get that over to you. Okay. Okay, is there anything else that's come through?
Nope.
All right, so we'll follow up with Kevin. But again, thank you everybody for your time today, and have a nice day.